Now, listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth right now.
Ooh.
That was the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it.
Hit it. It's time for Mac's World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
6 minutes after 4 o'clock. I'm exhausted after the first hour. 22nd day of June in the Lord's year 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Mac's World Live. This is going to be a show that I'm going to want your input on, please. It's a Jesus-centered conversation with a political and a social swing to it. My guest today is Pastor Ben Mason from Lutheran Church of Hope, and I'm assuming that you're passionate about this because I told you, you pick what you want to talk about today, and you came out and want to talk about how why after we have still have a higher level of poverty in America.
Well, I not only am I passionate about this, but I think that you can't be a Christian and not be passionate about this. We are called to care for the least of these. Jesus was always about feeding the poor. Jesus was always about reaching out to the lost. Jesus was always about reaching people that even the rest of the world didn't even want to reach. He was touching lepers. He was healing the blind. He said, whatever you do for the least of these, in my name, you do also for me. So some Christians have lived their lives and have done things in a way that is more self-focused, and that's the way they live out their faith. They think their faith is about their salvation and the way that they're in relationship with God. But as we dig in deeper and as we look at a biblical Christian faith, we see that poverty and injustice and caring for those who are in need is an integral part of what it means to be a Christian. And if that's not part of our faith, we need to reevaluate ourselves.
That's a great opener.
Well, and
if you want to say kaboom at the end of that would be just fine. I'm okay with that.
Well, and I have to be honest. As you were doing that, I was thinking I must not be a very good Christian because I just don't,
So sorry to convict you right out of the gate.
Well, that's all right. I mean, that's all right. I just, I guess this is something the Lord wants me to hear today because when I'm not talking about Mississippi or Detroit where there are real
pockets.
Huh?
Pockets.
Pockets?
Pockets of...
Yeah, pockets of poverty. I mean, just because do we have that in Des Moines? Do we have poverty in Des Moines? Do we have, I know we have homeless people, but I don't put poverty and homeless together.
Why not?
I'll tell you why. I'm tainted.
Okay.
A few years ago.
Well, see it as your problem then.
That's my pastor. Gotta love him.
Ben, I really hope you don't take offense to this, but I want to say Lutheran Church of Hope is known in some circles as a squishy church. Dude, you just came in swinging, punching everybody in the face, so I don't know what they're thinking. If that's, but you're swinging on the right stuff. I mean,
they're not paying attention if they think we're squishy.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Here's the reason why, Ben. Why I don't see homeless people as poverty.
Okay.
Many years ago, did you hear about how they were moving these camps and digging up these camps? Okay. Yep. They had a big one of those about, 10 or 11 years ago. And I just kind of popped. And I said, why are these people homeless? Why, with everything we have out there, why are they homeless? And I had 3 homeless people come on my show. And Ben, all 3 of them said they choose to be homeless. All 3. And I didn't select anybody. That wasn't weighted. And I just remembered the taste that I had in the back of my mouth after that show was over. It was like, well, then I'm just not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
They want to live off the grid. They want to be invisible. They don't want to have to be registered for this and have a license for this and have an address and a utility. That's their choice.
So you say you understand a disproportionate percentage of the population that's homeless are also vets. So what's the correlation there? You think more vets want to be homeless, and why do you think that would be?
I don't know. I think that war is a horrible, 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 horrible thing, and it destroys people's souls. I don't know. I guess you can't really destroy a soul. What would be the next thing? It destroys their heart. It destroys their brain. They're involved in so much chaos like you and I could never imagine. I just think they just want to check out, Now, I don't know. I got a special place in my heart for vets.
Yeah. So, since you have a special place in your heart for vets,
did I just say that? Didn't I just say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Since you have a special place in your heart for
Ben's
vets,
going, what did I do? What? He sounded serious.
No, I want you to think about how you can have a special place in your heart for homeless people, and for everybody in need, for everybody that lacks some sort of financial need. Because as we address this issue, I think having a heart for people, for other people, for all people is an important part of what it means to be a Christian. To care and lift up the benefit of all is something that's distinctly Christian. And as we think about the way the culture characterizes Christians in a negative way, this is one of the things we have to remember, that we as Christians have a corner on the market of people who care for other people for no other reason than the fact that they're created in the image of God. And that's an integral part of our theology, is these people are created in the image of God, and therefore they have a certain level of dignity that we afford them just for the fact that they're people. And it doesn't matter what kind of people they are, where they're from, where they've been, the choices they make. We start from that place.
Okay, tell me if this counts. I just thought about this. Because I have such a distaste for the homeless, because my experience has mostly been they choose to do that. After Jesus mugged me at Hope, I started that Jeans for Joppa. Remember that? And yep. I got all the guys to bring in old jeans, and then I gave them to the sewing team, and they sewed them into blankets, and then we take them to Joppa, and then Joppa gives them to the homeless people. So I guess I'm okay with homeless as long as I don't have to look at them or touch them.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds icky, and I don't really mean that I feel that way, but I know it. I know as a follower of Christ, I need to care about those people.
Right.
And so my deal was, okay, we'll collect jeans and make blankets.
So any way of caring for somebody that can't see them as a person and can't treat them like a person, or treat them like you would want to be treated yourself, isn't honoring what Jesus calls us to do. Jesus says, "Love your neighbor as yourself." And then when he says, love your neighbors yourself, he also says, do unto others as you want to have them do unto you. And so that's the way we need to treat homeless people. If you can put yourself above somebody else, it's not really loving. You need to love them in a way to where you put them above yourself. So in that, we have to start from that place if we're going to talk about poverty.
Put them above your place.
Above yourself. So Jesus tells us the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. So therefore, if we're going to become Christ-like, little Christs, Christians, then what it means is to put other people above ourselves, to metaphorically wash their feet in the same way that Jesus washed his disciples' feet. To make himself unclean by touching a leper, which was a big deal in a society that we don't really understand. But in that same way, we're called to do that. And we need to figure out personally what that looks like in all of our lives.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say that we can, if people want to weigh in, they can. If they've got questions, 515-244-0077.
That's what this means.
That's what this means.
This usually means answer the phone.
Yeah, but I was doing the give out the phone number.
Yeah, that's not what that means. That means answer the phone.
Which one's to give out the phone number?
Well, in the 1960s, under
Okay.
LBJ's Great Society programs, we have roughly the same percentage of people in poverty that we had, in the 60s that we have now. We poured millions, billions, trillions of dollars into poverty, but yet poverty seems to still be about the same percent. You have a certain party who wants a permanent underclass, and they have to keep that permanent underclass to stay in political power. You got to keep, you have to, in other words, race will never go away. Poverty will never go away as long as the race poverty merchants are making a living on poverty and race. So all the money that gets poured into this, and how do we know how much goes to it? Because of whatever charity you give to, there's a certain amount of administrative costs. Sometimes, Hillary Clinton's, all of her programs, they've reported that, maybe 25% went to what it was supposed to go to. I've heard as low as 10% goes to the actual charity.
So you brought up my question from the beginning of the show. If we're going to pour billions into this problem, and we all acknowledge it's a problem, hopefully we all acknowledge at this table that we're called as Christians to do something about this. Do we? That we're called to address these sort of things?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
So then
I don't think we get to say that one's icky, but I'll do that one, and that one's too hard, but this one's easier, and that one I just can't agree with at all, but I'll go do this one over here.
Right. So the commands of God dictate that we love our neighbor as ourselves, and when they ask who the neighbor is, he says the person that you don't want to love. Right? He points to the Samaritan. He points to the people that we consider icky. So we need to ask ourselves, what is poverty? And I want to address that question next. What is poverty, and why are we pouring billions of dollars into this and it not changing? I think there's a real answer.
Pastor Ben Mason from Lutheran Church of Hope is here. We're talking about poverty, homelessness, and being like Jesus. 244-0077. That's the voice I want to hear, and that's yours, live on The Truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
"21 minutes after 4 o'clock, live in Max World on the Truth. We're in the middle of talking about poverty. And now I'm going to ask you to call my real estate guys, or my retirement guys, to make sure you don't end up in poverty. You know that can happen.
Yeah. Oh, that's...
You know, it changes constantly. And we're living longer. We have a better access to medical treatment now under Obamacare. I don't know if that's true, but supposedly we do.
Well, Mac, and that's one of the saddest things, though.
Yes, Frank?
No. This is relevant. This is one of the saddest things, though, is to see elderly who lose everything.
Yeah.
As when we get to that retirement age, we haven't prepared. And Lauren and James Weiss Merkel Financial, they've kind of hit me to this.
Yeah.
I don't think about the fact that there's coming a day where I'm not going to be working to make an income, and I've got to continue to live.
That's a really good point, Chris, because our stereotype of what a homeless person is or what an impoverished person is somebody, a middle-aged guy who is disheveled and unintelligent, has an alcohol problem, and he's standing on a corner asking for money.
Right.
Where in the reality of poverty is different. The reality of poverty is it's disproportionately children and elderly.
Right.
So when we're talking about is elderly people who, for whatever reason, aren't able to make the income that they need to survive, and or children who are vulnerable because their parents are in a really rough place, and maybe it's a lot of kids with a single mom, and mom can't financially provide, and so we need to get past our stereotypes of poor people and think about what poverty really is.
Absolutely, and that's why I think, Mac, I interrupted you because I think it's relevant as you think about what Weiss Merkel Financial does. They make sure that as we get closer to retirement age that we know what we're doing with our money. I mean, that's what these guys care about people. They care about individuals to make sure that they're making wise choices, that they understand what they're facing. Bob, you talked about this the last time they were on. When you reach Social Security age, things are always changing. I mean, it seems like the rules around just Social Security are always changing, not to mention what are you doing with the finances that you have now? Where are you investing them so that you can continue to live and serve and do the life that you want to do when you're sort of past your working years, as they say.
And the reason everything is changing with Social Security is because of people like you youngsters in here, that they're trying to save Social Security. So they're making changes to try to save Social Security. Anyway.
Yeah. And so anyway, that's part of the plug for Weiss Merkel Financial. They're on twice a month, normally on Mondays around 4 o'clock. They come on. You can ask them questions if you have questions about your finances, about retirement, about investing. If you want to call them, you can call their number. If it was up on the screen, I'd tell you it. I don't have it memorized. But you can call their number.
278-4110, 278-4110, 278-4110, 278-4110.
That's 515-278-4110. I did that from memory. Now I've got it. Weiss Merkel Financial, and they're on the radio with us twice a month with Mac. It's a great broadcast.
All right, 515-244-0077. That's the number you can call in and join in this conversation. I'd really like to hear what you think about this. I think this is a powerful topic, and Pastor Ben Mason from Lutheran Church of Hope is here. And what I booked Ben, I book everybody like 3-4 weeks in advance. And unless there's a certain topic that they're coming in because of who they are, I usually tell the pastor, just pick something you're passionate about. And Ben made it hard. Because I believe everything he's saying when it comes to what we should be doing as a Christian. But I have to admit, this is an area that I I just have a challenge with. I just think there's a lot of people out there who choose to be living in poverty, who don't want to work hard, who want a free buck off the government, and the easiest way to get a free buck off the government is to be poor.
So then we make that our excuse for not helping. But listen to not what I said, what Jesus said.
Okay.
So here in Matthew 25, he says, he separates the sheep from the goats. You know this story. And he says, all those on his left depart from me, accursed ones, into the eternal fire, which has been prepared for the devil and his angels. I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I was naked, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you didn't visit me. And then those who are on his left will answer, saying, Lord, when would we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger or naked or sick and in prison, and did not take care of you? And then he will answer and say to them, truly I say to you, the extent that you did not do these things to the least of these, you did not do it to me. And they will go away into eternal punishment, with the righteous into eternal life. So this is the words of Jesus. This isn't me, get on my soapbox. But Jesus has harsher words about it than I do. So I think we have to start by asking what poverty is. What would you say?
But hold on. Let me ask you a question. Don't you think Jesus would also tell these people to get off their butts and go to work? Well, don't you think he'd tell Jesus to quit having unprotected sex, so all you're doing is kicking out kids? Wouldn't he tell you to quit whining and get up and go make some money and give it to Caesar and the God and your family?
Well, we can speculate all day on what we think Jesus would say. All we were given is what Jesus did say.
Well, I have more than that. No, I'm kidding. That was so blasphemous.
Let me hear it.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was a terrible thing to say.
Well done, man.
Because you're convicting me.
Yeah.
I mean, I love you. You're kind of my pastor when it comes to stuff, and you're convicting me. Well, Jesus said to do this. How come Matt gets to say, okay, Jesus, you said to do this. I'm going to do that, but over here, I'm not going to do that one because my ego or my whatever it is gets in the way.
Yeah.
Frank?
Well, I think the best story in the Bible that demonstrates God's principle in this was the Syrophoenician woman. And Christ seemed to treat her a little rudely, according to Scripture, but it was for a purpose. He never done anything that he wasn't trying to point out hypocrisy of his people or teach his followers a lesson. And, they felt that their money and lineage got them to heaven. The Jewish people, and but God pointed out that it was, I came to save my people. I'm not here to deal with you, lady, is basically what he was saying to her. He was kind of treating her kind of rude. And she said, well, even the dogs eat. She knew Jewish tradition and Jewish law better than the Jews did, because God was basically about, don't waste nothing, gather up everything, don't waste anything.
Why is that? Why does he say that?
Because he was he had blessed his church financially. He went on to say that the camel passing through the eye of a needle has a better chance than the rich man going to heaven. And it's almost impossible. It is impossible for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle.
Right.
So this just blew the disciples' mind.
Right.
We don't have any chance then. But what he was demonstrating is the reason he blessed his people is because these were supposed to be the people that his nation should have been ministering to.
Right, exactly. So this is exactly where I'm pointing to is we're called to minister to people that the world calls the least of these, and we look to them and we see Christ in them, is what Jesus is saying. We look to them, we see the face of Christ, and we see the one that we're called to serve. When Jesus says, he says, the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. And he teaches us to serve so that when we see our brothers and sisters who are impoverished, when we see people that are struggling, it's our call to go to them and be for them what Christ is for us and to serve us. So I'm going to ask a question to all of you here, and anybody who on the radio or on the telephone,
listening to the radio, or
the internet, or however we're connecting with people. If you want to answer this too, that'd be great. So, what is poverty? How would you define that?
And if you want to answer that, you can call 515-244-0077, or you can send us a text at 515-809-0993. What do you think poverty is? Mac, I interrupted you. You were going to answer the question.
Well, I don't know. I think that's a good question. I don't know what poverty is. I mean, the government changes it all the time. Of course, that's what the government does. I'm going to pull a Ben Mason on you. What does Scripture say poverty is?
We'll get to that in a second, but first
okay. Go ahead there, Ben's World.
It doesn't have to be like a really philosophical thing. What defines poverty?
Well, I would define poverty as someone who's in need.
How about a person who lacks? Into the Democrats there.
Somebody that's below a standard of living.
Okay, standard of living in need of what?
What is it? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Basic necessities, yep. Food, shelter, those kinds of things. Things of life, sustainable things. If they're lacking in those things, I would say that someone is in poverty.
Yep.
Or poverty is the lack of basic necessities. Maybe is a better way of saying it.
What about you, Bob?
He took what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yay!
Yeah, it's lack. People that lack essentials for living.
Okay.
Lack needs. Not wants, but needs.
So, Mac, what about you?
What?
What do you think poverty is?
Now he's acting like me.
Listening. I'm paying attention. What is poverty? See, I can't go with this living below your needs stuff.
Why not?
Well, because everybody needs this. Let me tell you something. They need cell phones. They need cable TV. They need cigarettes.
Right, but that's what we're saying.
They need nicer tires, nicer wheels. They need sunglasses.
Those
they need
wants.
hats. And I know they are, but they think they're needs.
America, can we admit that America has the richest poor people in the world?
Yeah. So you define it. What does Jesus say poverty is?
I think what we should do and what Jesus would do is ask poor people. And so I brought this book. It's called When Helping Hurts by Stephen Colbert and Brian Fikkert. And there's this section where they talk about this book called Voices of the Poor. And I haven't read that book, but they have some quotes here from people from different countries who are living in poverty. And so this is the way poor people would describe being poor. I haven't lived in poverty, so hearing from poor people what poverty is, I think, is a really good place to start. So somebody from Moldova says, "For a poor person, everything is terrible. Illness, humiliation, shame. We are cripples. We are afraid of everything. We depend on everyone. No one needs us. We are like garbage that everyone wants to get rid of." Somebody from Guinea says, "When I don't have any food to bring to my family, I borrow, mainly from neighbors and friends. I feel ashamed standing before my children when I have nothing to help feed the family. When I'm not well, I'm unemployed. It's terrible." Somebody from Latvia said, "During the past 2 years, we have not celebrated any holidays with others. We cannot invite anyone to our house, and we feel uncomfortable visiting others without bringing a present. The lack of contact leaves one depressed and creates a constant feeling of unhappiness and a sense of low self-esteem." Somebody from Uganda said, when one is poor, she has no say in public. She is inferior. She has no food, so there is famine in her house, no clothing, and no progress in her family. So somebody else says, "Your hunger is never satisfied and your thirst is never quenched. You can never sleep until you are no longer tired." Somebody else said it's powerlessness, inability, and you're not able to make yourself heard. So it's really heart-wrenching. You think about this is the way that people live, but I want to highlight some things. See, there's this theme. One said ashamed. One said lack of contact from other people. One said no say in public or ability to improve your situation. One said powerless, the inability to be heard. One said you can't sleep until you're no longer tired. It's more than just a lack of material goods. It's this deeper spiritual element of not having something even more.
Billions and billions we spend on poverty, and yet poverty grows. Pastor Ben Mason's asking the question, why? He's got a pretty good argument. Are you convicted? I may be. We're coming up next, live.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs,
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
.438, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Hank, the Bible Answer Man. 1-888-ASK-HANK. That's the number. If you want to ask him a question, get on the line now.
Ooh. Unless you're Frank.
Unless you're Frank. Frank's got...
I've got the Batman hotline.
The Batman? You mean the Hank man?
Well, the red
Hank,
phone, the hotline.
The Hank phone.
Right.
Yeah, okay. 515-244-0077. That's the number you can call in a minute. I'm going to tell you what happened today. In case you weren't listening at the beginning of the show, I'm going to tell you what happened. And I am surreal because I witnessed a miracle today. And I had nothing to do with it. And I think that that's one of the things that should be talked about more than anything is when people have what I call proof of God. I've got several proof of God stories. I don't have a dozen, but I've got 3 or 4 that I personally can give you a testament on. And I had one today. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. At the end of the show. Pastor Ben Mason is here. Why are we spending billions to defeat poverty when poverty continues to grow? And I love what you're reading out of that book. You're reading comments from homeless people about what it feels like to be homeless and poor. Yeah, go ahead. I want to hear a couple more of those.
So, if you're hungry, you will always be hungry. If you're poor, you will always be poor. What determines poverty or well-being? The indigenous people are destined to be poor, says somebody from Ecuador. So what you see is that destiny. It's unchangeable from their perspective. You see that shame. You see that lack of contact. You see that they have no say in public. You see that they are powerless. They're unable to be heard. And so what you see that there's this relational element to it. I define this poverty the same way that we talked about it. It's this lack of material goods. It's this Maslow hierarchy of needs where if you don't have the very basic things, you can't worry about the other things like improving your society or improving your mind because you're so worried about where your next meal is going to come from. And then if the people just have their needs figured out, they'll figure it out for themselves. But at the same time, poverty is this broken relationship where your relationship through sin and the fall with God is broken. It's your relationship with the creation is broken. You see that in Genesis 3 where tilling the ground is hard and our labor is hard. You see the relationship with each other broken. You see that in Cain and Abel. You see that in the ways that we mistreat each other here and now. Your relationship with yourself is broken. You have this. You're not. You don't give yourself the credit you deserve, and you also are separated from being created in the image of God in the way that God has made you. So you're not able to be your full self. So the real answer to poverty isn't giving things, but it's actually addressing those relationships. Repairing those relationships is how we can best address poverty. Caring for people, building a relationship with people. And off air, Chris, we were talking about how you and your neighborhood kind of separates you from what you think about poverty. There's a distance there.
There is. I live in Urbandale. So, I live in the great suburban land here in central Iowa.
You're not from here, are you?
No.
It's not Urbandale. The original was Urbandale.
Yes.
Okay, because the Latinos founded it, and it's Urbandale.
That's why we have the best Mexican restaurants. We do. We have two of the best in the city, in my opinion. I won't name them because they're not paying me to. But in suburban America, we self-inflict those things with one another. We distance ourselves from our neighbors. We don't know our neighbors the way that we used to.
Right.
Even when I'm young, relatively speaking, right? And just in my lifetime, I've seen, maybe it's the internet, maybe it's the way that we communicate online, whatever the case may be, but we don't interact much anymore with our physical neighbors. And so I kind of balk at the idea of we should serve the homeless and we should serve the poor because as a suburbanite, I live in the suburbs and I don't know my neighbors.
I'm really glad you brought this up because Mother Teresa, who we all know went to Calcutta and lived with the poorest people in the whole world and washed their feet and fed them and cared for them as they died of hunger. And she herself lived in poverty and took this vow of poverty to serve other people. And this great Christian example, she came to America and visited America and saw the way that we live. And she said, America is the poorest country in the world because we suffer from the poverty of loneliness.
Ooh.
And so when Jesus says, "Blessed are the poor, for they shall inherit the kingdom of God," and he lifts up the poor and shows the rich to be in actuality poor, you're impoverished just as much as somebody that lacks material goods. Not to say that if you don't have food, then you should just get over it because Chris is also poor, even though he has stuff to eat, right? But
clearly have stuff to eat.
Yeah, you and me, brother, we're not in danger of starving anytime soon.
That's right.
So, but we need to recognize our own poverty, and when we recognize our own poverty, we can. That's a first step in addressing this bigger question.
I think I agree with you 100%. I think it looks like we've got a call on the phone, Mac. Is that right?
Yeah, let's go to the phones at 244-0077 where Mike is standing by. Mike, how you doing? What's your thought on this poverty issue?
Hi, Mac. I was listening a little bit, and I was interrupted because I had to come in the house, but I was just kind of taken back by how would this conversation happen in most other places in the world. I mean, it's having to define poverty. It's just being here in the United States. I think makes you in the top 5% wealthiest, among the world population. And it's as I heard you and the pastor talk. I'm hearing such a cultural thing here.
Yeah,
the whole conversation was. Oh, sorry. The whole conversation was based around by wealth equals money. I mean, I just went from a year of having my salary go less than a quarter of what it used to be for some disability, and I don't feel poor. I feel happier than I was.
Right. And so that's the point I was just getting at with Chris is, sometimes when we have material things, we miss the most important things in life. We are so caught up in having material goods. Jesus says, can a rich man gain the whole world and lose his soul? Absolutely. I feel like that is a society. And when he talks about the rich man going through the eye of a needle, and when the rich man comes to Jesus and says, what must I do to be saved? And he says, give away everything you own and sell it and give it to the poor. And he goes away sad because he was a very rich man. We have all these things where our material goods and our reliance on our material goods is actually a hindrance to our relationship with God and our relationship with each other, because we rely on those things when if we didn't have those things to rely on, we would actually rely on God, which is what God wants.
Right.
We forget that God is the giver of those gifts, but those are gifts that we confuse with God. Jesus says you can't serve both God and money. You have to pick.
Exactly.
And so we end up serving money instead of God.
And there's so many places in the world that they don't have that confusion.
Right. And I've been there and I've seen that.
Yeah. The one last point I want to make real quick is I worked for a couple of years ago. I worked for a very large agricultural organization for quite a while, and it was amazed the studies that we come back, and the bottom line is poverty is not a distribution issue. It's not a lack of a deficit of food. It's not any of that. It's geopolitical. We have the ability to feed everybody in the world, but we don't.
There's plenty of food, but still people are starving.
Yep.
That's absolutely true.
That's it.
All right, Mike, thanks for listening. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah,
Frank?
sure. I'll go start looking for a job, Mac.
All right, thanks.
Well, clearly when Christ himself said there will always be poor among us, he was, in all intents and purposes, saying that temporal blessings aren't going to be for everyone. And he does bless some people with wealth, but those who he blesses, with much, he expects that they give much.
Exactly. So we say, well, I'm blessed with this, and you're not, so then too bad. But when we forget to ask God why we're blessed with that. When God makes the people of Israel his chosen people, he says, why? He says, you're the chosen people. And we forget to ask God, why am I chosen? He said, you're chosen to be a blessing to the rest of the world and shine the light to the rest of the world. You're given goods so that you can give away.
Absolutely. We're coming up on our last break. We'll take that. We'll come back. We'll wrap this up with Pastor Ben Mason, and then we're going to talk about a miracle that I saw today. Seriously, coming back on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes before the top of the hour. Don't forget, it's time for Revival in America, and your chance to participate is coming up on Saturday, July 9th here in Des Moines at the Family Leadership Summit. The event will feature Anne Graham Lotz, War Room actor T.C. Stallings, biblical worldview expert Dr. Del Tackett, and more. To get your tickets, go to thefamilyleader.com. Ben Mason is here from Lutheran Church of Hope. We are not going to be able to complete this conversation. You'll come back in a couple weeks or whenever it's convenient for you and finish it up. But your final thoughts or your final words on this idea of poverty, because you sure have What is it about you that when you say things, I pay attention?
I don't know. You're just not bright, I guess.
I don't know. Something. I don't know. God, you've got a magical... I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
So... We think poverty is about lack of material goods, but it's not. It's about relationship. It's about the broken relationship that we have with other people, and it's because of that that way that we're separated because of suburbia. You only know people that are in your same socioeconomical level. You don't know people that are poorer than you, and you don't know people that are richer than you for the most part. So then you have no opportunity to move up and down. So when people are poor, they don't have an opportunity to move up because they don't know anybody that's middle class. And so we forget that. So it's about relationship. It's about broken relationships with each other and with God. And so why do we spend billions and it does nothing? Because we operate from the perspective that it's about a lack of material goods. So then if we just dump material goods on it, then it'll get better. But in reality, like Haiti's a great example. Lots of NGOs have helped Haiti in ways that it hurt because they give Haiti things, right? Like rice. They tons and tons and tons of rice shipped into Haiti to feed people. So then what happens? The people stop growing rice because of the economic reality that creates. There's no market to grow and sell rice because the NGOs are giving away rice for free. So the businesses go bankrupt that are growing rice. And then what happens when those NGOs say, well, we gave rice for so long, let's stop giving rice, or that dries up for whatever reason, then not only do the people not have the rice the NGOs are giving, but they don't have the ability to grow rice because we've collapsed their total structure. So it's not about giving material things. The way that we help actually hurts. It's the way that we give, again, when Helping Hurts talks about relief, we treat everything like it's a crisis, when in fact we need to figure out how to develop people and how to train people to help themselves and how to train people and give them the means to help themselves. And we need to repair that relationship. The answer is to the question of homelessness is to get out and meet some homeless people and talk to them more than just three.
More than just three. Oh, good. I was waiting for you to say that. Yeah, thanks.
And you'll find they're vets. You find that they're people who struggle with mental illness. You'll find that they're people who have heartbreaking stories. You'll find that maybe your story is not that different from their story. And you'll find that there was a couple different things that happened that was out of their control that left them in that. The biggest reason for poverty is generational poverty. And that's most pervasive in people's lives, where generation after generation, the people are poor in that family. And so the main reason people are poor is because their parents were poor and their grandparents were poor. Is that their fault?
No.
So
not at all.
If we look at the relational nature of poverty, we have a chance to make a difference.
Pastor Ben Mason, Lutheran Church of Hope, West Des Moines campus. You can get him anytime you want at 222-1520, or listen to you preach next weekend, right?
Yeah.
Are you the main event?
No, I'm the sideshow.
You're the sideshow. Okay, well, I'll come to the sideshow. Ben does a really good job preaching. I got to tell you, I really enjoy your messages.
Thanks, Mac.
All right, thank you for being here. I got to tell you about something just crazy. And I wish these are the days I wish I was on secular radio, because my listenership is going to say, well, sure, Mac, you prayed for it, you challenged God, and he came through. But it's the non-believers that I want to hear this message. Saturday and Sunday this past weekend, my 14-month-old granddaughter began to get sick. throwing up, temperature going up, eyes kind of rolling around. She was seizing sometimes. Eventually, Sunday morning, she had 106.3 temperature, and she was rushed to Mercy Hospital by her amazing mother, Trina. Over the next couple of days, I don't want to use the word touch and go, because that really says that, you know, we were waiting at any moment that she was probably going to be gone. That wasn't the case. But she didn't get well right away. And the doctors were confused. The doctors were clamoring for some type of answer to what this child had. And you got to know, when the doctors are baffled, I'm baffled. This morning, they diagnosed her with West Nile virus, a virus that when it was first introduced into the United States in 1999, people died from it. In fact, we had a texter say that their husband's uncle was the first guy in Iowa to die from West Nile virus, or a West Nile virus. Thank you. This is getting emotional. And when I got that call from my son, I went into a prayer mode that I don't know if this is the first time I've ever recognized it. I didn't think about praying. I just prayed. And as I'm blowing up my phone, contacting prayer groups, I find myself saying to God, I expect you to heal her. I've been faithful. I've done what you ask. I've set aside things that were important to me. And I did it for you. So I expect you to heal her. Now, if you think my words made any difference to God, I doubt it. If they do, Ben, I think I should be preaching next weekend. That was 9 o'clock this morning. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, the doctor came in and said, I don't know what you people did, but this child is completely healed. And you can go home now. I mean, we don't even need to keep you for another night. All the symptoms that this child has been having since Saturday, Friday, whenever it was, are gone. And the doctor himself looked at my daughter, my stepdaughter, or my daughter-in-law, she's my daughter, and said, this is a miracle. I can't explain it any other way. Now, we hear about this in books and, you know, Heaven's Near and all. We hear all about these miracles. And I always figure they're true, you know. But today I stood before and watched one. And I just want you to know that Jesus is amazing. And when you put your trust in him, amazing things can happen. Not all the time. For you folks that have prayed for somebody and lost them, you know, there's no level of right or wrong here. It's just all about grace. So the next time somebody says, miracles, hooey chewy, say, well, you know this guy on the radio, and he talked about his granddaughter one day and a miracle healed her. You heard it firsthand, and you heard it here. Remember, today, forgive. Dump that resentment, because as you forgive, you will be forgiven. I'll see you at church.